You're watching Viral People.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Viral People Show, where in this show we talk about, viral people. Today, we are honored to welcome Jourdan Kamal, a seven-figure entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and author of his upcoming book, How I Built My $1 Million Startup with God. As the founder of Eduqat, his AI-driven platform transforming skills, education, Jourdan is on a mission to make learning more accessible. His impact was recognized in 2020 when Eduqat was appointed by the Indonesian government to support a nationwide upskilling program. Jourdan, for people that do not know you yet, could you give a brief introduction of who you are?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jourdan. Just a brief introduction. So I'm Indonesian, but I actually grew up in Singapore. I'm a co-founder of a tech startup. I've been in the tech industry for almost 10 years, 12 years, I think. And I also have a community, a Christian faith-based entrepreneurs community. It just started maybe like a few months ago, but it has grown to 800 subscribers. Yeah, that's me.
So, thanks for the intro, Jourdan. Your journey is a powerful testament about how faith and business can work hand in hand. For people that maybe do not know about Eduqat, could you maybe summarize what basically your platform does and what kind of impact it has created so far?
So Eduqat, basically, it's a AI-driven platform, LMS, learning management system. But what makes us different is that you are allowed to create your own AI persona, whether it's AI voice or chat, to actually create a persona role play to just do role play with your employees or learners. So you can create like a mentor, tutor, or whatever, just to teach your learners. So that's basically Eduqat. Of course, more than that, you can analyze your students' performance, you can analyze your students' grade, to create even quiz out of your learning material. So all you need to do is just to upload your lesson material to our platform, and then the AI will be able to learn whatever that is in the platform, and then it will generate the AI tutor or mentor based on the learning materials that you have.
Oh, that's amazing. I think before we get into the whole story about how Eduqat was tapped by the Indonesian government, maybe if you can give viewers a bit of a story about how you ended up creating Eduqat. Has the journey always been, have you always been a startup founder yourself?
Yeah, so Eduqat it's actually my second startup. So my first startup is actually a Indonesian-based startup called Mau Belajar Apa, which is translated to what do you want to learn.com, right? So that was actually my first ever startup. But before that, I was actually a real estate agent in Singapore. And that's how I was being introduced to like learning courses. Growing up in Singapore, it's all about learning. So even after you finish school, there'll always be like courses, workshops. Yeah, that's basically the lifestyle of Singaporean, right? So when I came back to Indonesia, I felt there's no learning lifestyle in Indonesia. When 15 years ago, no, very seldom, very little workshop, very little classes. So basically, I started Mau Belajar Apa, the first startup, because of that inspiration from Singapore, right? So I wanted to create a directory of courses and workshops where people can just go to their website and then whatever they want to learn, watercolor, yoga, digital marketing, business. So all they need is just to type that, and there will be like a short courses, maybe like a 3 hours or even like a 3 days courses. So basically, that's how my first startup was being started. And and then the journey was very amazing. It's just that when I first came back to Indonesia, I didn't know anyone, right? I was doing very well in Singapore as a real estate marketer, but I felt a certain emptiness inside because I felt like I don't see myself doing real estate agent for long, because I felt like when I was younger, a few years back, I received a vision where I felt like I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna be someone who will start a business, have creating companies that will have impact in Indonesia. So that's what I thought I'm gonna do. So when I was doing well in real estate, the money was really good, earning a few $1,000s and even $100,000, and I was like thinking, but it feels empty. So that's where I started to reflect and pray about what's my life purpose. And of course, maybe 3 years before I was successful, right, in real estate. I was struggling a lot, and my good friend in Singapore asked me to learn digital marketing. And I graduated from NUS, and I thought that I learned the things that I need to learn. I learned everything already. But in fact, I was struggling as a real estate. I was like, why am I struggling? I thought I have a good degree and all that, right? No money, in debt. So one day my friend told me, hey, you just learn digital marketing. It's a 3 days course, $3,000. So we learned, and then I implemented what we have learned, and then suddenly we just became like top producers because of that. So it's learning about how to create websites, SEO. So
And this was back in 2012.
2012. Yeah, and then suddenly, just 1 month, the result was amazing, right? Then it made me successful because of that. Almost 2 years. So 2012 to 2013. So I was just doing digital marketing.
So for all the marketers in Singapore, when you say you were successful back in 2012 doing all these digital marketing strategies, back then what was being used?
So developers build condo, right? So all I need to do is just to make a similar website of their project, and then I just do SEO or Google Ads, and then the leads will just come to me.
Purely gen on those landing pages.
And after that, we will just contact the leads and then bring them to the developer show house.
That's amazing. And that's what we're still seeing today, right?
Yeah, until
Except
today.
if you were doing it in 2012, I think you were leveraging a really barely tapped
Yes, barely tapped.
potential
Yeah,
area.
so we were doing super well. And that's how I felt like one course can change a person's life, because I was struggling before that. I was like thinking one course can change a person's life like this, like earning 20, 30, $40,000 just through digital marketing. So when I came back to Indonesia, by the way, my dad passed away in 2012. That's why I decided to also back and forth Indonesia and Singapore, because my mom was in Jakarta. And then when I was like back in Jakarta, I felt like a lot of Indonesians, they don't have the learning opportunity like how Singaporeans have all these amazing courses, workshops. So I was like thinking, if one course can change a person's life, why not if I bring like a directory of courses, and if people want to learn, they can change their life too. So that was like my purpose. So that's where 2014 I started to create that website, where it's just a directory of courses, classes. It's very simple. And the idea actually came very simple from my sister. My sister was a tutor. So we all grew up in Singapore. And then when we came back, my sister said, I just want to teach tutoring, like tutoring, private tutors for Mandarin, maths, English. So she was asking me, is there any website that can facilitate, or is there any directory so that I can just put my name there so people can just find me? So I told her, let me research. And then when I researched, there's none of those websites. So I thought, okay, I'll do it for you. I learned digital marketing. I can do websites within a day. So I did the website. Of course, I was like doing a lot of research, whether this can be a scalable business or not. So after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, after 3 months, I decided, okay, let's do it. So we did the first website. It was using WordPress.
This was in
2014 already. 2014, 2015 already. And then it was super simple blog, WordPress blog. So I was just doing that, and crazily, and also, of course, I was also praying, Lord, if this is where you want me to go, open an opportunity, right? Because I was also thinking to bring the Singapore website, real estate website, to Indonesia, the strategy. But I already bought the domain. We already have the website ready. But at the end of the day, I don't feel the peace. So I just decided to go with the education website. Although I'll calculate it, my mom told me this. I don't think you can become a millionaire out of that, because the one transaction you only earn 50 cents Singapore dollar. In Singapore, I earn $5,000 per transaction.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, so my mom's like, how can you become a millionaire out of it? But I don't know how to explain, but I told her it's more like a passion and something where I see a vision where I can grow myself. So the intention was not only to bless, like to be impactful, but it's more like I want to grow myself as a person. I can always do like a digital marketing and always be successful, a lot of money, but I don't see myself like growing as a leader. If you want to grow as a leader, you need to grow a company, a team, start from scratch, create something. Like the experience is very different. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I started one website. I find a PA, and then we'll just do it. So two of us, we were like working towards that. And then we grew to, then I have my co-founder, CTO. He helped me, that we have 3 or 4 people in the team. In 2015, I remember just a few months after I launched the website, I was suddenly being invited to a Indonesian radio station, which is quite famous. And then it was like, so my name was like all over, like some people like know me because of the radio. And then 2015, I started to be invited to national television news. Wow. I think almost 4 or 5 national television channels.
And that's when your personal brand started taking off.
Yeah. And then 2017, I remember I was invited to a startup show, which is hosted by the Oprah Winfrey of Indonesia. He's a guy, but he's so famous. He's that level. So when I attended when I was invited to the program, to that show, that was like from 10,000, I grew like 5,000 followers because of that. So that was it. And then 2018, I received a call from the president's office and told me that, hey, you are invited to meet the president because you are labeled as one of the most influential young men. I was like, okay, I just
That's
go there.
amazing.
Yeah, I didn't even know how did that know me. I just do my things, right? So I just go there.
Would you say there was a miracle that came through for you?
I think so. Yeah. So I just went there. I did nothing much. I just meet the president, say hi, and then just selfie. That's all. We didn't talk much, but I didn't know something at the back, something behind was actually they were planning something. So the next year, I received a call from the staff president again, and they said that, hey, he has a vision to scale up Indonesia's like upskilling. They wanted to do like program like a skill future. Like in Singapore, you guys have a skill future, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to do similar. So they say they have research, and the only platform that they see was like my platform.
Wow.
And they said, can you help? So we helped. We built, of course, together with other startups, but they approach us first. So that's the best thing. I don't have to tender. Some people have to tender and all that. We don't have to.
Typical process, yeah.
Yeah.
And just so we're clear, this is clearly like multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah.
With the
So
government.
2019, we helped them build, and then 2020, that's where like we signed the deal. And then I remember it was COVID. And then people's business will like all go down. We were like, I was struggling because we were expanding, scaling up, like from 10 people team. Now we have to grow like 50 because we were handling millions of traffic to our websites. Our websites crashed because we were using WordPress. So it's crash, right? But it was also one of the nicest experience, like from a small startup, then we grow to a big startup, right? Because we handle the whole country.
Team of 50, you said?
Yeah, team of 50. So we grew to a team of 50. And then from there, of course, my websites always crashed. And yeah, at the end, apart from the technology that was being used, I also started to notice that the educators were like not empowered using technology. So they came to my website to put their courses. The students buy courses from us, and they use WhatsApp to teach. So I was like,
very manual.
Yeah, very manual. Like you need a proper LMS. So I thought, so with the money that we had from the governments, the millions of dollars that we had, so in the end, we used that to develop a second startup, which is called Eduqat. I think the education system will be disrupted one day. I have this assumption, right, that many people will just prefer online courses or even non-institutional kind of education, because people companies, they start to not really look at the certificates. They don't really ask what certificates you have. For example, like if you are a graphic designer, they don't ask which certificates you have or which school do you come from. They see your portfolio. And then with the rise of content creators, influencers, digital marketers, they don't ask which school do you come from.
Yeah.
They ask how good you are about the SEO and stuff.
Completely results based.
Yeah, so it's about result based. So I start to see the trend going there. So I find that I think we need to create a LMS for creators, white label. And that was like in 2022. So we started to build that. And before we launched, halfway through, then AI started to come, right? When AI started to come, it just blew my mind away. I say, we need AI to really
completely transform
the education. So that's where we started to implement. We scrapped everything again. Like a lot of the code we scrapped, and then we implemented AI so that we allow educators to create courses easily. We allow AI to help educators grade using some rubric. So they don't have to like grade essays manually already, but now AI are able to do that.
Like a partner.
Yeah, like a partner. And then this year we launched AI persona, where you can just customize your AI to become like mentor, your customer or tutor or whatever teacher you want to help facilitate your students' learning, whether it's voice or text chat.
That's amazing. This whole journey, taking from Mau Belajar Apa, right, serving the Indonesian market with the Indonesian government. Now you're trying to build Eduqat, which is a more global-facing product that you can reach everybody who wants to create a course, who wants to create an LMS backend, and even AI integrated as well. The journey seems very smooth so far. Everything has been set in place very well. Would you be able to share a little bit through your journey? Because you mentioned when your dad passed, right? I'm sure that changed a lot of things for you. How did it define you during that period?
Yeah, so actually my journey of entrepreneurship is not smooth at all. I thought it was smooth, but actually it's not smooth at all. But my first ever depression I really got was when my dad passed away. So when my dad passed away, is it okay to share like very spiritual kind of thing?
Of course.
So when my dad passed away, okay, so before that, I graduated from NUS in 2008. Then I started a small business, like a graphic design house, like a freelance, but also like a company, a small one, but it failed. So in 2009, I got lost. Like I thought I want to become an entrepreneur and I was lost. And then I was like thinking of going full time to start to work in corporate. 9 to 5 job in Singapore. Back then I was still a PR. So before that, and then suddenly I was like, my cell group leader in Singapore was like telling me, hey, before you go to full time, can you just go to School of Theology first? Because in Singapore City Harvest Church, it's very common for people just to go to SOT.
Sorry, what is School of Theology for
Yeah, so
people
School of
that-
Theology is just a 5-6 months, 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, just study the Bible.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, I believe that, what do you call that? I believe business is very spiritual. So that's why I thought, why not? Since I failed my business, I just go to School of Theology just to learn, just to find out what is my purpose. So that's basically my intention of going to the School of Theology, to understand the religion. I didn't want to go to church for the sake of just going to church. I really want to know the theology, the foundation. I didn't want to blindly believe.
Was that the reason, like, you wanted to learn the biblical principles to lead in the marketplace, in business? Or was it just to figure out religion and spirituality out?
Yeah, just to figure out religion and spirituality.
Because you didn't grow up a Christian?
No, I didn't grow up as a Christian. Yeah, my parents were like, we were all Chinese, so we were like Taoist, Buddhist. My dad was an entrepreneur, but he also failed. So I was like thinking, what's wrong? But anyway, I just went to School of Theology for the sake of just learning about God. But surprisingly, it was more than that. So I discovered my purpose there. I received visions there, and I learned all of the, what do you call that, biblical principle for the business. Because I remember my pastor back then, Pastor Kong, always invite all the successful business owners. Like I remember there's this one Korean guy from, like, he supplied chip to Samsung. So
Wow.
he's a billionaire. And then he was sharing his story, his journey with God. And I was like, I want to become that person. I think because he was saying that he was very influential, so he's easily just pray for people, and then his vendor supplier can become Christian. I said, I wanted to become like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was inspiring. So yeah, so that was in the School of Theology. So there I learned how to find my purpose, hear God's voice, learn my spiritual gift, and I became quite sharp in terms of my spiritual gift. And I like also know how to know. Like when I was praying one day, God gave me a vision that I'll be teaching in Indonesia. So that's where I find my passion also in education.
Tell us a little bit about the vision.
It was a very simple. It was in a leaders meeting where people were praying, and then suddenly Pastor Kong was like saying, "Hey, I want to pray for visions for you." And then suddenly I was praying, and then suddenly I saw myself teaching. So it came to pass. Even until today, I'm still teaching. The reason why I built the platform, because I teach also. I'm an educator too. So that became a passion. So that kind of lead me to where I am today. Yeah, so that was in 2009, right? So after 2009, before I want to go for the full-time job in corporates, then suddenly that was in 2000, yeah, that was towards the end of 2009, 2010. Then the news that my dad was diagnosed with cancer broke to us. It was like, oh no, my dad got cancer now. So we all break down. But that day also, dad and the whole family took Christian. So my dad received Christ.
Wow.
During that day. It was very touching moment for us. So we were praying for 1 year, 2 years. And in the end, I didn't manage to go for full-time job because I need to take care of my dad. So I became a real estate agent. That's why. And people say, oh, as a real estate agent, it's very flexible. All you need to do is just to stand in the show fly, you get $5,000 per month.
Own time, own target.
Nothing. 3 years, no, nothing. It was really struggling for me as a real estate agent back then. And then 2012, January, my dad passed away. So that also broke my heart. And also I lost my faith and I was angry with God because I felt like I've been praying so hard. 1 year, 2 years, been praying. I went to School of Theology. I prayed for my dad. My dad became Christian. Why he died? So I was like, I lost hope. Yeah, so I lost the hope. And then the second month, my uncle passed away. My dad's brother passed away. And then the third month, my grandpa passed away. So in 3 months, I lost 3 family members. And that got me into a traumatized experience, depressed, paranoid. So I didn't go out. I just stay at home, just read books. I don't want to go out because thinking that I'll be I was fearful because, oh, there will be accident. I didn't even use shampoo because I thought, oh, there will be like cancer. So it's really bad. Every night I will be just waking up, nightmare. I will always angry with God. I say how cruel, things like that. So that's how I was like I lost the purpose to live. So I was waiting to die, basically.
Wow.
And I didn't want to work also because I told God, what's the point of working? I'm dying anyway tomorrow. Work, if I have money, I cannot bring the money too. So what's the point? So that became very negative. Yeah, it went on almost for 4 months. And then one day I saw my dad's spirit come back. Like Wednesday morning, I remember. Then 5:30 in the morning, I was awakened, and then I saw my dad like peeping on that door. It was a very spiritual experience. I was like, I think this is hallucinating. And then so I just kept quiet. But later on, my mom told me that, hey, I think Papa came back. And I was like, no way, what time? 5:30 in the morning. I was like, both of us like like our jaw was dropped. I was like, no way. There I got a lot of questions. I said, God, why I don't understand. What is this all about? Why did the dead soul come back? Isn't my dad being accepted in heaven? Why his spirit's wandering around? The Chinese always believe that. But after that, I went to Singapore and I asked pastor to pray for me. I told him it's crazy. I cannot continue anymore. But amazingly, on that weekend, there's a pastor called Dr. David Cho Yonggi. He owns the largest church in the world.
Wow.
He's a Korean pastor. So in that service, he opened up, today I want to talk about eternity. What is this? He seldom talk about eternity. And then he asked this question, like, why did Jesus bring his favorite 3 disciples to the mountains of transfiguration to meet Moses and Elijah, who has already been dead? Why did Jesus allow 3 disciples to meet dead people? I cried because I think it was like my question to God. Like, why did you let me meet my dad who has already passed away? So Dr. Cho Yonggi was like saying, because Jesus wanted the disciples to know that eternity exists and they are still working there. So your work don't end here on earth.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, so you mean there is a work in eternity too? They say, yeah.
Impact that lasts forever.
Yeah, impact. And then before he ended, I think he was saying that, what's your purpose on earth? Your purpose here on earth is to prepare yourself for eternity and prepare others for eternity.
Oh,
And
that's
then
a deep mission.
Yeah, and the moment he said that, the Holy Spirit reminded me that, Jourdan, because you prepare your dad when he was on earth, that's why he is here in eternity. I cried because it's okay. That's the eternity mission that I have. Like God can make me an entrepreneur, but money is not something eternal. It's not something eternal. It's very temporary. But what you do with the money can make a person's life more eternity based. So that became my mission in life. No matter what I do, whether I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, or even I'm a content creator, I will make sure the things that I do will have an impact in person's life.
Wow, this is heavy, yeah. Since we're on the topic of spirituality, faith, would you be able to share how you use maybe biblical principles as you run your startup, your day-to-day life? How does that affect you in the marketplace?
Yeah, the very funny part is during that service, when I received the revelation about my mission, like prepare yourself for eternity and others for eternity, right after that, in that service, I said, God, I'm ready to work now. I want to create a business that for it.
The trigger.
That was the trigger. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't have money. I have debt. And
so the high calling was impact.
Impact.
But you didn't know what kind of medium, how you would go about doing it.
Yeah, I didn't know. And then I heard voice and said, you go back to Jakarta and just create a business plan. And then you write me a business plan, you pray. Okay. So I went back to Indonesia. I write a business plan. I sit down and I was like thinking, what should I do? But after that, I remember my dad, before he passed away, he wanted to build a education center. So I thought might be good. So I wrote down in that proposal, I said, I want to create a website or like a community. I remember I wanted to create a community where we will have workshops together. We will learn things that is outside school, maybe like digital marketing or mental health. So that was like 13 years ago. I already wrote all that down, right? And then after I wrote down, I printed the name cards, the brochures and all that, and tell people that, I'm the founder of, back then, I think the name is The Light Academy or something. It's very new age, by the way. Yeah, just doing that. But it never happened. So it never happened. The funny part is suddenly I have a client that called me and say, hey, Jourdan, I want to buy a real estate in Singapore. Indonesian client. I told him I'm not doing real estate anymore, but I'm going to connect him to my friend who is in Singapore. So I gave him the contact. He went and my friends showed him like 10 houses. And then he called me from Singapore and said, hey, Jourdan, I saw 10 houses. I'm exhausted. And I didn't like anything that your friends showed. Can you just recommend me? So I said, okay, sure. So I because my friends were like showing him all the Orchard area, River Valley, the Indonesian part, right? The Indonesian people will buy that
The rich
area.
Indos.
Yeah. So I told him, I'm gonna recommend something that is not very Indonesian, very Singaporean. So I told him, Simei. So
East side, yes.
yeah, the
West
east side,
side.
because I grew up in east side. So I know there's a shopping mall, there's an MRT station, it's near to airport. So he called me and he said, oh, you fly to Singapore and bring me there. So I flew to Singapore and he said, I love this area. So he gave me a check.
So he went from Orchard to
to
Simei.
Simei, yeah.
It's amazing.
And then he gave me a check. And then because that project was like quite long in the market, so the commission was really high. So I got almost like $20,000 to $30,000 commission there.
This is after you stopped practicing
practicing. Yeah,
your
for
realtor
3
life.
years.
That's crazy.
For 3 years, I did it. Yeah, so for 3 years, I was like doing cold calling. I was doing this, nothing happened. So this time, I already gave up. I thought I want to create the community and school, but it didn't happen. And yet, so in the middle of I'm doing the community, so this thing happened, and I got the commission, $20,000. I remember. And then the next week, he called again and say, my sister want to buy the same project. So I said, okay, let's go. So she flew over and she gave me a check. So in 1
That's
week, I got 2
crazy.
checks.
That's crazy.
And then the craziest part is the next week, people buy again. Like my client, my friend, hey Jourdan, do you have any good deals? I said, I have here. And they see, they buy. They see, they buy. I closed a total of 7 deals within 4 months. The developer was like, who is this Jourdan? Like I didn't even look for clients. The clients look for me.
Wow.
I remember when I was in Jakarta, there's one client in Indonesia, in Jakarta. They say, hey, come, I don't have to fly. I just trust you. I give you the check. I was like, whoa, okay.
Wait, so he just closed the deal remotely?
Yeah, remotely.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I got my $150,000
In 4 months.
in 4 months.
After you stopped practicing all
Stop
this.
practicing. And then my cell group leader say, hey, learn digital marketing. Yeah, so I learned digital marketing from there. And then we continue to have that kind of income. So with those income, I paid all the debts and I used the money also to build the startup, the first startup that I had.
Amazing.
Yeah. So my first ever depression was really my dad's case, right? So when I was building the first startup, it wasn't so much hardship because everything's going. It's not it's not difficult. It was tough. I almost gave up too. In 2017 or 18, I almost gave up. I said, God, I don't see this is going anywhere. Although I was like featured here and there, but I was always being rejected by investors. Because when the investors look at my business model, this is not gonna work. Even my mom also said, you cannot be a millionaire because of this. A lot of investors were like doing the analysis and said, no, it's not gonna work. I met like almost a lot of investors and they say, nope. So I felt so down. I felt so rejected. And I thought, okay, maybe this is not what God wants me to do. I almost gave up. Then the call came from the government, like, hey, the Jokowi wants to, like the Jokowi team want to try working with you to build that platform.
So you had 2 very big breaks in a rather short span of time. Your real estate sudden deals that came in where you raked in 6 figures of actual profits in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then the Indonesian government came knocking on your door.
Yeah. The first breakthrough was the real estate, like 100,000. But it was just 100,000, right? But the startup, the first startup, Mau Belajar Apa, was the one that really makes me like a millionaire because I see millions, like 10 millions, 20 millions coming over to the platform. I was like, whoa, this is huge. So I thought, so that I experienced that. But to be honest, like when you say, oh, is this smooth? Right now, it's actually the toughest moment in my life right now. So all the savings that I have from my first startup, I almost lost it all. Like almost lost it all already, just to build Eduqat.
So you invested
crazy.
everything that you have into building
even my
Eduqat.
personal savings, everything is.
Are you able to
almost
share how
gone.
much you spent on Eduqat already developing
2
it?
million.
Wow.
I know this is crazy. Okay, so I need to get that clear because we were also running a few companies with the government, not only Eduqat. We the Mau Belajar Apa, we have a few other companies. So we were running a team to actually support the government's project, and then that was like expensive, right? So but it was the same resources that run the whole district companies, but also building the Eduqat. So a total of $2 million actually.
Wow. And when you say now it's like the hardest period so far.
So last year, we were still having the government's project. So the government project was supposed to be like in 10 years program. Then last year, somehow there's some technical error on the government side that caused my courses, my platforms not to be able to supply. It's technical error. It's not even business era. It's just technical era. There is the technology era that they deleted my name, for example.
Oh,
So
okay.
weird. Out of like 100 vendors, only mine got that. So we were like fighting, we were like blaming the government. The government said we cannot do anything. There's a bug that just crossed your name out. So
Okay.
weird, right?
It is weird.
I
Yeah.
felt it was like a spiritual attack, to be honest, because last year, okay, so for the past 4 years, during 2020 to 2023, it was my best year. Like when people ask, is entrepreneurship hard? No, it's easy. When you go with God, it's so easy. And I remember in 2023, I told God, it's so boring to become an entrepreneur. It's so easy. Oh my gosh, that was like the wrong prayer I ever prayed in my
Okay.
life.
Would you say pride set in then during that period?
Yeah, I would say, because I was quite prideful. Oh, I'm a successful entrepreneur. But also 24, last year, it was my 40th birthday last year.
Wow.
I told God that, God, I also want to, I told God, you gave me a first breakthrough already. Now you give me a second breakthrough, which makes me a millionaire. So I told God, I want to build a $1 billion startup with you. $1 billion. And then the next thing I say that, it was the crash. It was the government's error. Everything just done. So for almost 1 year, we didn't have revenue at all. That
1 year without government,
yeah.
without the revenue from the government.
There is, and towards the end, they managed to resolve it, but only 2 months.
2 months before the contract ended.
Yeah.
Okay.
So weird. And then this year, the government's project was demolished because of the new president also. Yeah. So I felt, oh wow, this is super challenging. So just to tell you, last week we just had a co-founders meeting. We were like thinking, should we just close down Eduqat, or should we also? But at the end of the day, my co-founders say, hey, you know what? We just felt the whole spirit. My co-founders, because I asked them, if you give up, I'll give up. You know, but my co-founders know, let's fight together. So we had a team meeting, the whole company. We told them we need to let some of you go. Plus, we need to cut half of your salary. If you guys don't
That's
like
heavy,
it,
yeah.
if you guys don't like it, you guys can just leave. But if not, you can fight with us for 3 months, starting next week will be the first month that will.
Wow.
So I told them it's going to be 3 months. If 3 months if we don't see any result, we're just going to close it down. The whole team cried, and then because they were like with me for almost at least 4-5 years.
Wow.
Our turnover rate is really small in my company. And they were like, oh, we're already family. So they say, Jourdan, we'll fight together with you. That breaks my heart, actually.
Wow.
Also, no
And
amount
this-
of money can actually pay them.
Definitely. And this culture that you've built, would you say they are also they share the same faith?
No, I think the Christians like only 30-40%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do very Christian culture there. Basically, we're just a very healthy culture, I would say. It's not toxic. Yeah.
Okay. Before I jump into your current state and where you guys are at, maybe you can share a little bit when you talk about culture, Christian culture. How do you embed that into your work, your team culture? How do you imbue that?
Servant leadership, that's number one. I think the number one culture that all Christian companies should have is the servant leadership. So instead of becoming a boss, you serve.
Wow.
That's the thing that I learned, of course, from John C. Maxwell also. He's a very great leader. He also teach the Christian to become a servant leadership like Jesus. He's a king, but he's also a priest. He's also a servant.
Does that mean you see no hierarchy?
I don't really see hierarchy. Yeah. To be honest, right now in our team, we don't really have multiple hierarchy. They call me like brother, like sir or something like that, but all of them can just talk to me. All of them. So we don't have, need to have a certain respect. No, we don't do that.
Can you give some examples of what servant leadership means or mean for you?
So instead of you doing like a bossy kind of things, you must do it because I pay you. This is like very boss like style. For me is, hey, we have this vision, right? Let's work towards this vision together if you believe it. So most of my staff, they all work for the sake of, because they know it's not a what do you call, it's not forced. They also love the job, and they also respect the leaders, the C-level team. And that's a very great example. Whenever a company has a problem, the first person to be blamed, even my staff, is the one who do the mistakes, will be the C-level. I'll be the one who take the responsibility. That's number one. The second part is, if we face financial difficulty, the first people that will not have their pay It's me and my co-founders. So I have not been paid for almost a year. And my
Wow.
co-founders for the past few months too. And then until we really cannot, then we go down to the team level.
Wow.
So they really know, yeah, Jourdan and the team is not really working for the money, it's really working for the impact.
Starts
And
from the top.
yeah, so they really saw see it because they also know our financial and they see, oh, Jourdan is not taking money.
How do you balance that? I know the Bible says you have to be as shrewd as a serpent and as gentle as a dove. So as a leader in the marketplace, right, especially so with a team of 50 people, right, how do you balance both sides, being gentle and also shrewd?
I don't really see that as a balance, or I don't even see that you have to take sides, whether you have to be shrewd or you have to be harmless, right? It's more like it's one, right? As a Christian, for me, how I always reflect how God blessed me for my past two breakthrough. God always say, Jourdan, tell me those two breakthroughs, where are your efforts? Did you find the clients? Did you need to pitch to the government? They call you. So so I was reflecting. I was like, yeah, true, God. People have to pay people to go to the government's contract, networking. I don't even go for networking at all. Come to me. So one principle that I learned is that if you build business with God's grace, with God's principalities, and with God's culture, like all these values, you will maintain it. God will maintain it for you. But if you build a culture or you build a company using your man's effort, striving, pushing, then you will need to maintain it using that same effort too. Now, don't get me wrong by saying, oh, so that means I don't have to work hard. It's not like that. It's more like when I always work based on the visions that God gave. So for example, I see, hey, I think this can work. I believe this AI can work. So I have the inspiration, right? That motivation that I will really work towards it. There are some deals where come to me and I felt so heavy. It's good money, but I don't know, but you just don't find peaceful. It's okay, don't have to sign that. So same thing. This is how I'm being led. So for me, it's more like, how do you balance? It's more like, how do you make decision based on spirit-led activity? I remember very clearly one time, before the government's project, right? It was the government's project we signed on March 2020, 2019. After years of being rejected by investors, there's finally one investor, a VC, came to us and wanted to give us money.
Wow.
So we were like, wow, we were happy. And then I was in Surabaya, and then my co-founders go and meet them. So we had a few meetings already.
I know this story.
We like it, everything. And after that's it. And then so since I cannot go, my co-founders went and need to do the final check and final conversation, and we will sign the next day. I came back. After their meetings, my co-founders just called me and say, Jourdan, cancel the deal. I said, what's wrong? You were the one who asked me to sign deals. No, just cancel the deal. I said, what's wrong? The vibe is so off today. Since when you guys talk about vibe? Because my co-founders, they're not like as spiritual as me. But that day, they were like, no, don't sign. Something is off. We don't have peace. And I also trust my co-founders' feeling, and in the end, we didn't sign. So we always make decisions based on spirit-led, right? Let's say if I have certain project that I want to create, I will find, if there's a motivation that I want, if I feel inspired to do it, I will do it. But if I felt heavy, don't go there, then I will not do it.
How can non-believers take this advice in a way that they can comprehend for their day-to-day business activities?
I watched a reels by Jeff Bezos, I think just last week. Jeff Bezos was like saying his big breakthroughs come not by logic or numbers. It's by instinct, decision that he made. So I think that was it. Intuitive, instinct, the number is bad, but you just know somehow this is gonna make it. Yeah, so I think I trust that voice. I believe that whether or not you're a Christian, you have the instinct. It's often when people try to make decision based on fear, greed, or like FOMO. That's where you will make all the wrong decisions. When greed comes in, FOMO, like fear of missing out. Oh, everyone is in there, I also want. Yeah.
let's jump in a little bit more into Christian principles in a bit. But now that we are, we're here actually in Bali doing this show and this setup here, could you share where you're at right now in terms of the business goals for Eduqat and what else you're building while here in Bali? And first off, why are you here in Bali?
Short term of my business goal was actually to survive. We were all fundraising all the time. We were like really praying hard to get funding. And then the long term was more like I pray that we'll go global so that my people will also experience that Indonesia can also produce a high quality, high level tech, so that my people will be Indonesian, my team will be able to experience how is it like to work in a global company. So that's really my goal also. And of course, the reason why I'm still in the education industry is because I still believe that this platform can make us so much impact. Like I see in Indonesia, one of the biggest challenges is that we don't have a great educators. We don't have a lot of good educators. So with AI that we train, they can mentor, they can teach students if in a place where there are no good educators. Let's say you need 10 educators there, but you just need one, and then you just do the AI, and that one person just need to supervise and facilitate. So that really helps the education. So that's the big visions that I actually have for the platform.
And how did you end up in Bali?
And it was also an accidental. It was really like a very sudden decision. I didn't have plan to come to Bali. Never in my life. I grew up in Singapore. I'm always a city boy, city guy. I love city. So when I was back to Jakarta, I always only go through and fro Jakarta, Singapore. So one day during the COVID, and after of course got my government's project already, I don't have to really do much already because my team was running it already, right? So I have a lot of time. And then my uncle was always coming. So he has a business in Bali. So I told him, I can come with you since I have nothing to do. So I went to Bali in 2021. And then it was just a month. I fall in love with Bali because there's no one, like zero, because of COVID. So there's not crowd. There's
low season.
You have no people at all because I used to don't like Bali because of the partying. I'm not a party guy. Partying and all this, no, I don't like. But that day, like that period was like so nice, so calming, so good. So I go back to Jakarta, I come back again, I go back to Jakarta, I come back again. One day I remember that I wanted to just focus in Jakarta just to work, right? Because I've been holidaying almost a year. So I took my sabbatical leave for almost 2 years. So on the third year, I say, I'm going to work. So on the day that I want to work, I got COVID. I cannot work for a week, and I fell into depression again. And then I felt like, this is not right. And the more I stay in Jakarta, I got more depressed. So there's a voice inside me telling, just go to Bali and get healing first. So I went to Bali. End up I stay 1 year in Bali hotel. It was very nice. And I pray to God, if you really want me to stay in Bali, give me a good community. That's where I started to find a local Christian community. And that's where I started to be rooted in Bali. And I find, now Bali has become my second home in 2022. Then in 2023, I rented a villa for 2 years. So I decided just to stay in Bali.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I remember reading up a little bit on your articles where you talk about secular Bali versus spiritual Bali. So when you talk about spiritual Bali, what does that mean for you?
Secular means like a lot of people come to Bali usually for holiday, like for
Parties,
nightclubs. Yeah,
nightclubs.
nightclubs, right? And all that. Yeah, so I think God is doing a revival in Bali. I never felt like this in my whole entire life before, like starting last year. Especially when I stay in Canggu, when I talk about spirituality, it's not only Christian, right? People come to Bali also go to Ubud for meditation, for New Age. So it became a hub for spirituality too. But that moment, and I felt like somehow in Canggu, when the church opened, the new tribe Bali opened, so suddenly a lot of people start going to church. And I went there, I felt like the vibe is there. And then a lot of people like hungry. So I started to see a lot of New Age turn to become Christian.
Wow.
And then I just realized, because they came to Bali to find the truth, to seek the truth.
And would you say that Bali has never been like this, or has always been like this?
Never been like this. It's only starting last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then now, the craziest part, of course, last year, I started my own content creation again. Started my personal branding. So because I got my personal branding because of the project of the government, right? From my first startup, I got 20,000 followers, but I
Build
stopped.
it up, right?
Yeah, I didn't really intentionally want to build my personal branding. But last year, because of the whole thing that happened to my company, and I felt like God is asking me to, hey, create your personal branding worldwide. So I began to share my personal journey, like Christian personal journey, entrepreneurship, fitness, and I got viral. My content blew up. So I have a lot of people just contacted me and they come Bali because of my post. And I started to have a lot of people just come to Bali, to Canggu, and then now we have a community right now called the Field Network.
The Field Network. Tell me more about the Field Network.
So the Field Network is more like it was started as a Bible study, very simple Bible study with the entrepreneurs, because I have a burden, right? Remember, when I was in Singapore, I got the vision of teaching, right? When I was in Bali, I saw a lot of people, new age, become Christians. They baptized and they don't know what to do. After that, they don't know what to do because they only go to church once a week. So I think I don't know, maybe like the Holy Spirit like suddenly took over me, and I managed to create curriculum of Bible study. I was like, within few days, my curriculum is out. So I have a lot of young men that came to me back then. They were like very young, like 20-ish, like 24, 25. They saw my story and they say, hey, how to become successful? They just become Christian, right? I said, I share my story and I also say, I want to disciple you. So I used my Bible study to disciple them. There were like 2 people and then 4 people and then 6 people, 20 people. And then suddenly last batch, we have like almost 100 people to attend the Bible studies. And then from the Bible study, we started to have a lot of great meetings like entrepreneurship meeting, business meeting, mastermind meeting, worship in the beach, like sunset, right? So we started to have all this and it became more viral. So it was like, whoa, yeah, it's crazy.
And that's how the community started building even more rapidly for you. Right now, what would you say is the plans for you're doing so many different things, right? What would you say are the priorities for, let's say, the rest of 2025?
My first priority is to get my Eduqat funding first. At least it's sustained. Because I still believe that it is the vision that God gave me. And I just believe it so much that it's gonna blow up one day. So that is my first ever priority.
And you mentioned that you're relaunching Eduqat in...
Yeah, so maybe next month I'm gonna relaunch it again. Yeah, because right now Eduqat is not being launched publicly, so we're still doing a lot of the features because we were developing Eduqat for the Indonesian government, right, last year. So most of the features are really like government related. So now we have to change it to more public corporate creators. So that was the main focus, but we have run out of budget already.
So who are your target audience for Eduqat? Who can use Eduqat?
More for creators, course creators to be specific, that those who create ebooks, courses. But if you just create like a static courses, that ebooks is just another courses. But what makes it more interactive or effective for the students is when you add AI to it. So after the students watch video, the next thing is they can practice it with the AI, or they can ask questions like, hey, how do let's say if a course creator talks about digital marketing, right? So the video is very general, talks about, digital marketing is the funneling and all that. But the next lesson, which is you can ask AI anything, which is based on the previous material, the AI will ask you, so what business are you in? Oh, I have a coffee shop. And then they will teach you, okay, so the coffee shop, how do you apply digital marketing to coffee shop? So the brand awareness, the funneling, you can use this, and then people can relate more. It's very personalized learning.
For all the people that want to have a quick demo or preview of what Eduqat is, where can they find?
They can go to that website already, eduqat.com.
Eduqat.com.
Yeah.
That's eduqat.com.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. For the Field Network, if we go into that just a little bit more, if there are business owners, Christian, non-Christian, people that want to try and figure things out also, where would you recommend them to start?
They can always they can go to the website, thefieldnetwork.com, or they can always follow the Instagram. Right now, we're just updating a lot of events in Instagram. So upcoming, we'll have amazing events. We'll have like a TED Talk. So we'll select people to talk about their business. We will have a mastermind in a small group. We have a campfire chat online. So we also have online people in the Field Network. So that's where we will connect with one another, share businesses, share struggles together. And then we will have also like a retreat Yeah, and courses, workshops to equip the business owners.
Amazing. I think we want to use maybe the last couple of minutes. You talked about your whole journey, a lot of ups and downs, and now you mentioned that is arguably the hardest time for you. I think a lot of maybe people watching here as well, they might be facing a lot of different challenges, whether in their business life or their personal life. What in business we always say failure is not an option, but maybe sometimes failure is just it's a certainty. What kind of advice would you give yourself and also the people watching for if they're going through a trying season right now?
What advice? I would say you discern, right? You discern whether this season is really for you to end whatever chapter you have to end, or it's just a season of trial where it's going to bring you to another level. So if you find, because I always believe that if you find that voice that says, okay, just close it and you move on, then you just close it, right? If there's a voice there, if you discern that, no, it's just another season, you just need to go through it. So you just go through it, just keep telling yourself, just continue moving on, don't give up. And the most important thing is you have to always be discerning, like very sharp to that instinct or intuition that you have, because that will. There's this quote that says that only the crazy people will believe they will change the world. If you think you're crazy enough, then you do it.
That's amazing. That's great insights. Okay, I think as you wrap up this segment, if you guys want to check out Eduqat, please visit eduqat.com, eduqat.com. For the field, would you just say on Instagram it's at the Field Network? Amazing. And if you want to follow Jourdan on his Instagram, that is JOURDANZ. Z. Yeah, with a U in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jourdan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and being very open and transparent. Yeah, wishing the best for all the plans this year, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joel.
All right.
Thank you.